Welcome to the Look Who It Is podcast, where we sit down with artists to talk music, life, and all the stories in between. Now here's your host, Dane Engel.
Hey everybody, today we have Jason McPhail with us. So what's been going on today?
Oh man, just finished up with a show downtown on Broadway and came home and grabbed some supper and just got ready for the pod, man.
Yeah, dang. Full day then, huh?
Yeah, it's been pretty busy, so.
Yeah, I seen something. You just got like a new
What's that?
sponsor or something? I see that today.
Yeah. No, I do a sponsor drive once a year because obviously being independent right now, um, you know what I mean? You don't have the financial backing of, a record label or a bank or anything like that. So I depend quite a bit on my sponsors. I basically I advertise for them on my website and on all my social medias and stuff like that. So different ones, different years depending on what businesses they have and stuff. Like I just got my first beer sponsorship and that was pretty cool. Through a honky tonk down on Broadway. So yeah.
Gotcha. So you get free beer all night?
Well, I get a free bucket of beer while I'm playing, but they also, I do a bunch of different stuff like they'll give me money for, like if I'm trying to get in the studio and put out like a brand new album or something. I basically use it almost like a crowdfunding campaign kind of thing. And then I put like if you go to my website, like there's a sponsors link and you can click on that link and underneath that link is all of my sponsors and they're all hyperlinked to their pages. So like when anytime people go to, check out my music, like when I play on Broadway, or wherever I'm playing, I have a sign up that has a QR code directly to my website. And so I think last year I had 4,000 unique visitors, which means like 4,000 people scanned that or typed my name in to the search bar to go to that website specifically. So all that traffic came through there and I can like break down analytics and look at like, if how many people are clicking on the sponsors. And I also, pin them to the top of my pages for a while on all my social medias and just kind of show some love back to them for supporting me and stuff.
Yeah, cool. Well, that's awesome that they even do that and give you that
Yeah,
opportunity.
I've been pretty fortunate, so it's been pretty cool. But
Yeah, you've been playing around Nashville and stuff for a while.
I've been in Nashville for 2 years now. And so just a little over 2 years. And yeah, I've played a lot of places in this town in 2 years. A whole lot because I did a lot of writers rounds, before I started really playing downtown. I was doing mostly writers rounds and just making connections with people and getting my songs out there and whatnot, meeting other songwriters. So you play a lot of different venues doing that, and then um, decided to go ahead and head downtown and start playing Broadway. And so now I play about 5, 6 different bars down there. So.
Yeah, cool. So like I'm completely novice, don't know anything about all this, so this is a learning
Yeah,
experience for me too.
for sure, for sure. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, Nashville, the Broadway thing is very there's a lot to it, man. There's a lot to it because you're playing mostly covers. Like, I mean, I usually play one or two of my own original songs every set that I do when I play down there. Um, but it's a really cool vibe, man. I mean, people from all over the planet. I mean, there was people in there today from Ireland and California and like I mean just everywhere all over the country all over the world that come to Broadway and Nashville to hear live music. And so they come here with this idea that they're going to hear great country music but that you're going to be a top-notch musician. And so you got to really be on point, man, because you're taking song requests on the fly for like 3.5 hours. Every set's 3.5 hours. And so
Now,
yeah.
do you have the same band that you play with, or does everybody just kind of?
Yes and no. Like we all have most of the bands that are full time on Broadway will have their number one guys. They'll have their number one guitar player, their number one bass player, number one female co-front, their number one drummer, that kind of thing. And then they'll have three or four guys in each position that they can call in case they need somebody or somebody's going to be out of town because there's a lot of players on Broadway that travel with like big name artists. A lot of your big, you know, um, a lot of your big name artists and stuff. That's they hire guitar players or drummers, and they'll come off of Broadway a lot of times.
You ever had that opportunity?
Um, as far as going out on the road with bigger artists, not yet. I've definitely like I've toured the country quite a bit, but I've played a lot of original shows. So developing my fan bases like in markets where, I've got, I might have 40 or 50 fans in a market. And so I go down there and I'll play on those more than, trying to get out on the road with bigger artists. Now this next year things are going to change. Like um your first year in Nashville, you're just learning, basically. You're learning, how the city is. You're learning about the music industry. Like people have no idea how crazy the music business actually is, man. I mean, it is a whole different world. It's a whole different ball game than what people think. There's so many people that move here that just think it's just gonna, they're gonna be here and they're gonna be the greatest thing since sliced bread, and they get here and they're like, holy smokes, what is this, And I think that happens to everybody at some level. Um, for me, I moved here and I wanted to get in and learn with people and get to meet people, learn about, how this town is, because it's actually, for a big city, it's actually a pretty relatively small town too. There's so many people every weekend. There's like 500,000 people that show up down here to come party down on Broadway and hear music. And so you're, it's such a crazy thing. But so that was my intent with my first year, was just to learn. My second year, I was focused a lot more on creating music and putting out music and playing, you know, just playing as many gigs as I could possibly play. So I've been doing that this last year, and then I'm stepping into my third year right now. And with my third year, basically, um, I've got a lot of really big goals, man. Like I want to, hopefully this spring, my goal is to be able to be out on the road, pretty much full time, playing every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then come back home and do writing sessions, songwriting sessions and stuff. But being out on the road full time, playing 3, 4 nights a week in different cities, different states, it just takes a lot of funding. You know what I mean? Like you got to have the right vehicle, you got to have, the gear for it and everything. And so that's kind of by springtime next year, that's where I plan on being. So
Nice. So you have some guys that you write with regularly, or
yeah, I've got some really, really great songwriters and stuff that I like to write with. It's not so much, it's not so much that I can't write myself. Usually what'll happen is I'll write a song and I'll bring it in to my guitar player, Nico, who is just unbelievable. I mean, the dude is just phenomenal playing guitar, and he can sing too. But he's predominantly a guitar player. And I'll say, hey, Nico, like, this is the concept that I have. This is the idea. This is what I'm going for. But I feel like, if something is with the song, like if it's too monotonous or if it's too, if it's not creative enough, I'll say, hey man, like I feel like this needs something in this dynamic, and he'll kind of help me bring to life like what I'm looking for. You know what I'm saying? Like we'll kind of walk through that journey together. And so a lot of times I'll already have something written and I'll just bring it to him, or, you know, whoever Nico and I are both writing with, and go from there. So
yeah. And does that work the other way around? Do you do that for them too?
yeah. So I've written some songs. I had my first Nashville cut, songwriter cut, was last year for a friend of mine. She's a really great artist. Her name's Emily Elgin. And we sat down and wrote a song called Doc Holliday. And it's basically like a female version of Doc Holliday, card shark kind of thing. And so her and I sat down and worked on that song, and she put it out, and it's done pretty well on the streaming platforms and stuff. So I've seen her gotten to see her play it live a couple of times, and people seem to really like it. And so she does a really good job with it.
So you've been there for almost 3 years. So where are you originally from then?
Originally, I'm from Oklahoma, but so I was living out there, and I played music. I was a coach, teacher, and a coach, and I would play music and stuff, and decided to jump into doing music full time, and ended up moving to Florida. Always, loved the beach, loved the ocean. So I was living in Florida, down in Navarre, which is northwestern area of Florida, and yeah, just living down there, man, and playing dive bars and drinking coconut rum on the beach, and just living life. And I put out a music video that did really well online. I think it did it was like 116 or 117,000 views in like a week and a half or 2 weeks or something crazy like that. And so ended up having a conversation with an A&R guy, who, worked for a pretty big artist management company. And and he basically recommended me to move up here. He was like, "Hey man, if you can always be a big fish in a small pond, down there on the coast, and you can have a great life like that." And he said, if you're driven and you really want to see what you can do, songwriting, performing, all of that stuff, he was like, Nashville's where it's at. And man, he could not have been more correct. You know what I mean? Like, it's the level of talent in this town, and the level of just desire and will from people to just move from all over the world to this town to play music for a living is just, it's unbelievable. Like, I think six different guitar players that I use down on Broadway, and all six of them would be could play with anybody at any time, anywhere. Like, they could play with your Luke Combses, your Morgan Wallens. They could play with, you know, hell, half of them could probably play with Van Halen or Metallica. I mean, they could play with anybody you wanted to hear, really. They're that good. And so, same thing with my drummers. I mean, the most of the drummers that I play with down here can read off of a chart while they're playing drums. So, like, if somebody in the crowd requests some song they've never heard, they can literally pull it up on their iPad next to them, look at the chart, and it takes 30 seconds, and we're off to the races, man. We're playing that song. It's crazy. I mean, it's unlike anything I've ever seen or been a part of. This town is Nashville is a crazy, crazy place when it comes to music.
So you have no regrets of coming there at all, do you?
Oh,
Yeah.
zero, man. And I was really fortunate, because like when the A&R guy reached out to me, we lived we were living like basically in a camper. Me and my girl, we were just living in a camper out in the middle of nowhere. We're kind of country people, anyway, but we were living out in a camper out, not too far from the Blackwater River there in Milton. And we didn't even have internet where we were at. Like, it was so far in the woods. And so we went down to the local Waffle House and was sitting out in the parking lot at the Waffle House using their internet to have the conversation with the A&R guys. But if it wasn't for her, man, I mean, I wouldn't even be here anyway. Like, she was like, I wasn't convinced that I wanted to come because, I was making pretty good money playing the dive bars, just me and my acoustic, and just living life, and swimming around in the, beautiful, beautiful Gulf, man. I mean, it's down there, it's crystal clear blue water and white sandy beaches, and you can drive 20 minutes and you'll be back out in the country, and so it's just a great, perfect blend for who I am as a person. But we got off that call, and she was just like, "You have to do this. Like, you will regret this if you don't ever try." And so it's like, I think you're probably right. I think it's probably a good call. And so she kind of pressured me into moving to Nashville.
So do you do both, but if you had to choose one or the other, would you rather write or would you rather play?
Man, that's a hard question because, and I've crossed that bridge a few times actually. Like, I've had people in the industry ask me like, are you what do you want to do? Do you want to be an artist or a songwriter? Because, this and this and this. And if you're going to be an artist, I've had people tell me, if you're going to be an artist, you need to write with the best songwriters. And for me, that's super subjective. Like the things that I've learned, and not everybody will say this, but the truth of the matter is, it's not necessarily that some of your hit songwriters are the best songwriters. There are some guys out there that can write songs that are absolutely phenomenal, but they just don't have the money to, the artists that they work with don't have the money to put behind the song to promote it as much as what it needs to be promoted. Like money in the music industry is a real thing. Like it really does open a lot of doors. Suddenly the quote unquote best songwriters will want to write with you if you're making big noise, because if you make a lot of noise and you have millions of streams, well, they're going to get a cut of that revenue. Does that make sense? So it can really, it, it's a big lesson to learn, but it can also be disheartening if you let it, because sometimes it can feel a little bit like the cool kid table. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, make friends with this person. Hey, make friends with that person, knowing, damn well that, your personalities completely clash and you would never hang out or anything, but you're supposed to make those connections. And I think that's been the biggest struggle, when I moved here was, man, like just like because I'm just very much what you see is what you get. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just who I am always. So it's hard for me to like, make friends with people that um, you have to suck up to be their friend. Does that make sense? Like that's just not my speed. So I found guys that are super talented and guys that I like being around, guys that, and girls. I mean, like my number one drummer is a female and she is unbelievable. But I found people and I built a team of people around me that when I write music that I enjoy writing with them, they understand the visions, and I enjoy like the actual process with them. Like I don't like it's not necessarily that I need to sit at that cool kid table and write with these people because they have all the ends, because I mean it's really about money, and so if that's what it is, I'm going to write with the people I enjoy writing with, and then I'll just put my own money behind my own music and push it that way.
Yeah. Do you think that
So
being independent nowadays is a lot better than before, like putting out your own music and stuff, like big record labels and stuff? But I mean, I feel
sure,
like with, streaming services and everything right at your fingers, I mean, it's pretty easy to put your own music out, isn't it?
that question right there is really a good one, man, because the industry has changed a lot in a lot of ways, but then in a lot of ways it really hasn't changed. Um, money is still the number one thing. No matter what people tell you. I mean, yes, you have to have good songs, but there's different types of writing and there's different types of goals that every artist has. Like, if your goal is to play the Bridgestone Arena in Nashville that holds whatever, 20 or 30,000 people, whatever it is, right? If that's your goal, are you going to reach that goal, just playing local dive honky tonks? Probably not. You know what I mean? Like you're probably going to need to get on massive tours with bigger artists, so you're exposed to a lot of different people all in one night. Go out as an opener for someone like a Luke Combs or a Morgan Wallen. Like those are huge things that will put you all the way to the top. But there's so many different moving parts when it comes to that side of things, because there's so many people taking a cut of the pie too. Like even there are venues even that will take a percentage of the artist's merchandise sales for the night, which is crazy to me. I'm like, if you rent the venue, you should get the venue, right? Like if you're paying for it, you should get it. But there are literally venues out there that will take cuts of artist merchandise. And I think that that's nuts. But, if you're, a Morgan Wallen or a Luke Combs, I mean, if you're making $1 million a night or whatever you're making, I mean, it's,
Right.
okay, fine, I'll give up a cut of it. But from a release perspective, to answer your question on that side of things, like I really like to have creative control over my own music. Like I really do. It's important to me to be able to choose who is working with me, who's alongside with me, who's writing with me, who's on the stage with me. I'm a big like energy guy. Like I have to have people around me that don't have negative energy. Like if I have people on stage with me that if something happens, and even with the big concert guys, mistakes happen. Like guitar players will mess a chord up, or whatever. Like drummers will, or whatever, stammer a little bit. Like things happen, no matter what level you're at. It's part of being a musician. But I can work through all of that stuff. That doesn't bother me. Mistakes are going to happen. It's how you handle those mistakes. Are you rolling your eyes? Are you sighing? Are you all humdrum on stage like that? To me, I will take a guitar player or a bass player or a drummer that's not as good as a different one, but that's still solid though, but will have a positive attitude and just keep moving, man, and just keep moving forward. Like to me, that's the most important thing to me. And so being independent is really difficult because you don't have the financial backing. Like when I put a song out, if I spend $2,500 recording that song and paying the musicians, you got to put at least another $2,500 behind it to push it out to, internet radio, putting it out on all the social media platforms and all that stuff. All of that costs money, man. Exposure costs money. And so where as an independent artist, you're hoping that something goes viral, but you still have to also be yourself because, like, I don't do all the TikTok trends, and stuff like that. I'm not going to go put a dress on and dance around for TikTok hoping I get a million views. That's just not going to happen ever. Um, but what I will do is I will spend my hard-earned money on boosting a post to get on people's For You page to help find new fans of my music that may not have otherwise found it. I mean, and that's essentially what the name of the game is now is everything is boosted all the time. You're constantly paying for promotions, and the big artists do it too. I mean, it's everywhere. I mean, it's just part of the game. So it's a little bit different. Record labels are gonna record label, they're gonna do what they do. So
Right. Yeah, well, you kind of answered my next question because I was going to ask you how much you depend on that.
it's huge. I mean, social media, as much as like every artist, 90% of the artists that I know, I really can't stand social media. It's just the truth of it. But I think that the disconnect, here's the approach I decided because I was one of those guys. I was like, man, I hate social media, like because that's just not my personality. It's not who I am. Like I want to be out fishing. I want to play shows. And I want to go fish, or I want to go, do something else. You know what I mean? Last thing I want is to be doing trends and trying to, convince people to like my posts. I hated it. But I decided to take a different route and it seems to be working really well for me. Instead of posting 3 times a day on the same platforms and just putting out a bunch of content that is just nonstop volume all the time, that's what steals your soul, I think. That's what makes you bitter and makes you get burned out. So what I decided was I'm going to put out content when I have content to put out, and I'm going to boost all of that content. And that way, instead of the algorithm saying, you know, um, this guy's posting, 3 times a day for the last 6 months, let's keep pushing them on the For You page. I'd rather post once or twice a week and then throw $50 at it and boost that post so that it gets in front of eyeballs on the For You page that way. And I've gained a lot of fans from doing that too. And it's helped me to not be bitter because I didn't want my whole life to be controlled by social media, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, it becomes a second job almost.
It really is. And it's draining and it's mentally exhausting, like having to constantly, hey guys, it's me, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, just another thing. But some people are taking the other route, and everybody I think that when it comes to social media, everybody has to take they have to walk out their own journey and their own truth when it comes to social media because in one post you can see from an influencer or a marketing company, post 3 times a day. And then they'll tell you another one will be like, no, don't post 3 times a day, or don't boost your post. It'll mess up your algorithm. That was something that came down from somewhere. And I'm like, wait a minute, then why do they have the boost button? Like they're really going to punish you for paying them to get on the For You page. So it didn't make any sense to me. And I think sometimes like social media just becomes like an echo chamber. where whether it's true or not doesn't matter. It's just an echo chamber. And so that's why I was like, it would not surprise me at all if like the major labels weren't the ones that were like, let's tell people that it messes up your algorithm, to boost posts because their artists are boosting posts. I mean, I've seen it. I can show you where they boosted posts, and I'm like, okay, so I'm just doing my thing, that's it. So
I see you have like stuff in Florida. Like, are you going like this winter? Do you go back and forth still?
yeah, absolutely. I love Florida. Like I was raised in Oklahoma, you know, Oklahoma will always be home, because it's where I was raised. I'll always identify as an Okie. But like, and that has a whole different set of meaning, when you're talking about identifying as an Oklahoman, an Okie. There's a whole lot to that. But I'll tell you, man, like Northwest Florida, I've got so many friends down there, and I've got so many people that I love and care about, and that love and genuinely care about me, and really encouraged me when they found out I was moving to Nashville. They were like, "Dude, we're gonna miss you, but we knew that you were gonna have to go, man. Like you're too good to be stuck here when you could be up there, and we'll always be here." And so I try to go back. Um, I've got them on the schedule coming up at the end of August, and then I'm going to be going back in November for this Bailey Brigade. It's like a cancer fundraiser for, like all kinds of supplies for people that are, that have cancer that are going through treatments and stuff like that. So I'm going to be going back down to Destin to do like a free fundraiser show for them. So
Awesome.
yeah,
I like how you do a lot of the fundraisers and stuff.
yeah, for sure.
So like you're there now. So you still playing? You play 5 days a week? Six? Like how often
Yeah,
do you play? You think?
it all depends on the week and how my voice is doing. Like I'm kind of recovering. Uh, fixing to go on vacation this starting this coming weekend. I'm gonna be off for about a week and a half. But I a lot depends on what I got going on. So the winter time is usually when you are writing more music because it's slower down here on Broadway in the wintertime usually. Um, so I tend to play fewer shows in the winter, and I'll play 3 or 4 shows, and then I'll write music 3 or 4 days a week with people. And then in the spring and the summer and the fall, there's, like I said, 500,000 people on an average weekend that visit down here. And so you're picking up shifts because the money's better. So it's kind of a feast or famine thing. Like during the spring and the summer and the fall, you work as much as your voice will allow, and you save that money for the winter when so you're not starving to death. But you also have to, make hay while the sun's shining. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you got to be able to work a few extra shifts here and there so that you can put money towards the studio or money into your new merchandise, or because you're doing it all independently.
Do you have to schedule with each place individually? Yeah. So, whew.
Yeah, it gets crazy. And then when you start talking about different band members too, and I've kind of been able to circumvent a few things. When I first got here, I kind of ran mine, my schedule the best way I knew how. But once I got my solid number ones in place, the guys that my drummer, my number one drummer, guitar player, bass player, and co-leads, um, we kind of moved to a different system now. So like if my guitar player, he's been out on the road a lot this summer, so he's been gone a lot. So what I told him was, hey, during the wintertime when it's slower, you're going to want all these gigs. And since you're gone, like I can't just strip all these gigs from these people. So what I'm going to do is you're going to be in charge. I'm going to do a Google shared calendar with all of my number ones. And then so all of those number ones are in charge of what gigs they want to play that week. And so they look at the schedule and they go, okay, I'm going to play Thursday and Saturday, but I'm not playing Friday. But it's their responsibility to make sure that we have a guitar player on Friday. And then we kind of go through a list. I go through a list with them of who our top 5 or 6 guitar players are. And then they just work down that list. if they're going to be gone until we hit the guitar player that can be there for that gig. And the same thing with the drums and the bass. And, the female co-leads kind of works a little different. Like we have different female co-leads on different days for our steady shifts. That way it kind of breaks it up a little bit. But um, but a lot of them play in other bands too. So it's like, they're not, even though they're like my number one on Thursday and Saturday, she's always the same person. She acts like those are her gigs. The only time she's ever going to be gone is not for another band, but for like something big or if she's sick or something like that. You know what I mean? And then I have a different one for Fridays and a different one for Mondays or whatever. So yeah. So it's kind of, but we all have a shared Google Calendar that makes it a lot easier on us.
So then there's probably some days that you kind of go in, you're like, oh no, I don't have. You ever go in and you're like, I got all number twos, all number threes today.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, but the thing is like when I first started, it was a lot more hit or miss, and there were definitely those days that I was like, oh man, like this is going to be a long shift because, either they were newer to town, they might be a drummer that's pretty new to town and they don't know all the what we call Broadway standards, like 200 songs, they don't know those songs that well. And so, or they can't read a chart to be able to go, okay, I can play it. I got the chart here. And so I was using like a lot of people that, you know, um, and they're all really great, man. It's a growth process, you know what I'm saying? But there's definitely times when it was like that, but not as much anymore because we have been here long enough that now, they're all every now there it's hardly ever like all threes or fours. It's almost always like I've got at least one or two number ones, then I've usually got a number two and a number three, or two number twos or three number ones. It usually doesn't make it real far down the list.
Do you ever see other people struggle because they don't, schedule like that? And
Yeah, yeah, this whole thing down here on Broadway is a learning process. I mean, there is a huge learning curve when you come down here because it is so different from everywhere else on the planet, dude. I mean, this place is you got to think there's like I can't even remember how many bars they said, like 50 bars or something like that within a mile radius or something. So it's like Lower Broadway is nothing but two, 3-story bars, you know, for like a third of a mile or something, man. I mean, it's like 5 blocks or something of just, both sides of the street is nothing but bars. And so, and usually they have like, there's bars that have 4 or 5 floors to them, and there'll be acoustic artists and dueling pianos and full bands, I mean, and then there'll be bars that focus mostly on classic country, like old country. Then there'll be bars that focus on, hell, there's rock and roll bars on Broadway, like John Bon Jovi's is a rock and roll bar. They play, from what I've heard, you're only really allowed to play rock and roll for the most part. Like they try to play 99% rock and roll unless something gets requested that's country. But the bars that I play at mostly are more of they're independently owned. It's not like, I've played Jason Aldean's, I've played Miranda Lambert's, I've played, I mean, I've played a lot of bars, but the bars that I play consistently each week are like Legends Corner, The Stage, Second Fiddle, and Layla's. Those are my top 4 bars that I play. And all of those bars are independently owned. They're not owned by the TC group or anything, or like, because a lot of those big artists like Luke Bryan or, Jason Aldean's, those places like that, basically the TC group will pay to use their name. Does that make sense? So it's not necessarily their bar. I don't know if Aldean's is or Luke's necessarily is owned by Luke and them. I'm not sure all the details, but I know that there's a group that is like the biggest group on Broadway that basically they just pay people to use their name, so they can market that name as a brand. And they'll show up at those bars, like the famous, the people with their name on it will show up at those bars from time to time. But the bars that I really enjoy playing the most are, on the circuit that I'm playing, man. They're independently owned bars by families or by, like Layla's is owned by Layla. And I know Layla, on a personal level. And I love that because if there's ever any communication issues, like we can contact each other easily. Like, you don't feel like just a number just kind of running through. Like she'll come out and see us play sometimes, or, playing like at Legends Corner, that's owned by a family. It's right across from the Bridgestone Arena, and they own, Legends, the stage, and Second Fiddle. Um, and those bars, you can play a lot more diversity, I feel like. We have a very southern rock sound, and so we're kind of in the middle of country and rock and roll. So we do a lot of Leonard Skinner, we do a lot of, Allman Brothers, or, just stuff like that. But then like we'll get requests for Johnny Cash, or we'll get requests for Johnny Paycheck, or whoever else, the classic country scene. And so we'll dive into that for a little bit. And then maybe a younger crowd will come in and they'll want to hear, Alan Jackson's Chattahoochee, or they'll want to hear Garth Brooks's Friends in Low Places, 90s country stuff. And so we don't get a lot of like the Morgan Wallen and stuff like that. We do get a lot of Luke Combs requested, but I like those bars because we can get rowdy. They're not as they're not as tight on like rules and regulations on certain things, you know, like what you can say from the stage, what you can't say. Like there's not a lot of limitations, and I love that because they trust us as artists to go out there and entertain the crowd that's there. And those crowds change. Like they change so drastically. Like every single day, like one day you might walk in and it might be packed full of like blue collar, hard nosed construction guys that, want you to take a shot with them while you're on stage. And, they want to hear you use some language, And fortunately, the bars I play at have no problem with that because they know that I can read a room pretty well. But then the next day you might have a whole group of like, pretty straight laced, kind of, not very rough and tumble types, and they want to hear Whiskey Glasses by Morgan Wallen or something, or they want to hear, Lady Antebellum and all of the more pop country stuff. And so they don't want to see you slamming shots back with them, or, using language or whatever. So you have to kind of read the room, which is a whole nother skill set in and of itself.
Oof.
Yeah, it's a lot.
You're wearing me out already.
I'm
not
telling
even
you,
there.
man. I'm telling you. There's a lot to it, man. There's definitely a lot. I'm trying to give you as much information as I can as far as the to run with or whatever. So
Yeah, no, this is all good, dude. You're talking great stuff. I'm eating it all up. Yeah, so I'm super glad that you did this, man, because I'm just trying to, talk to people and
yeah,
get information and stuff out there. I'm not really looking for anything. This is just something I thought would be entertaining for me.
yeah, heck yeah, man. Well, I'm
And
glad you had me come on. So
yeah, it's kind of mutually beneficial, I think,
yeah, for sure,
So
absolutely.
no
Yeah,
such thing as bad
I
publicity.
usually will never turn down an opportunity to do a podcast, no matter how big or small. I mean, it's my philosophy is, man, you just any opportunity that you get to talk about music or talk about your life or your art, one person, 1,000 people, doesn't matter, man. You just, you do it because it's what you love.
And we haven't even talked about your music yet.
Oh, I know. That's crazy, right? No
How much time
joke.
you got?
I know. I'm just chilling, man. I'm at the house, so I'm
All
good.
right, cool. All right, cool.
Yeah. So what do
So,
you want to know?
all right. So, let's see. I know you have probably, I only have Spotify, but just looking at Spotify, I can see that you have quite a few songs and stuff. Do you have
Yeah.
like, are they all singles?
Yeah. They're all singles. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And
So
then you've had something pretty recently too, right?
yeah. Actually, so I released a brand new single. It's more on the rock side of things, the southern rock. Um, Song's called Bad Motherfucker, and it's out. It's doing really well. I think last time I checked, it had like 130,000 streams on Spotify or something like that. So it's doing good. Yeah, it's doing real good. But I've got a bunch of music out, man. I mean, I've been putting out music for, about 3, 4 years now. I've been putting out music. on the streaming platforms and stuff. But, like I said, the industry changed so much. Like I was just so new to how it all worked. I was just like, I mean, it'd blow your mind, dude, how much there is to this and strategy and all that stuff.
Is it so? You got Bad Motherfucker. Is it like what made you write this song?
So my friend Steph McGuire and I, we sat down and wrote a song for her, and then we started working on one for me. And me and Steph were like, I was like, you know what I really want, Steph? I said, because I mean, I write with some outlaw people, man. Like the people that I like to hang around and be around are just, salt of the earth, like, tattoos and, just kind of wild child type of people. It's just, it's kind of who we are. But I told her, I said, I want to write one that just has like, that's just ego, like straight up, like all ego, 100% ridiculous. Like, just really tap into that rock and roll party side of things, and I was like, and I don't want it to be radio friendly. Like, I don't want it to be, you know, clear channel FM radio. Like, they're like, oh, if you'll take this word out or that word. I was like, so that's why I named it Bad Motherfucker. I was like, this is going to fly in the face of everything everybody else is trying to do, which is we all want to write music for the most popular artists on the planet so we can get paid. But I mean, my art is my art, man. Like, and I write according to how I'm feeling at the time. And I was vibing, man. I was feeling good. And I was like, Steph, let's write some shit, man. And so her and I started on it. And then me and Nico got together and finished it. And Nico's my guitar player. And and so he helped me write a bunch of the guitar parts and stuff, and it just turned out to be a kick-ass song, man. So it's a fun one. It is a real fun song. So
Is that what you bust out when the blue collar guys are in then?
that's it, man. That's
That's
it.
it.
Like I had a guy walk in one time and he said, he goes, man, I just looked up your stuff, and he goes, you don't have a hair on your testes if you don't play Bad Motherfucker tonight. And I started laughing, man. I was like, this guy. I was like, all right, but we attract a lot of people like that, man. I mean, like, there's some bars that they want to project like more of a classy quote unquote vibe, and that's okay. I mean, you need that down here too. But man, I just love the rowdy. I'm a rowdy crowd kind of guy, man. Like I love to be cracking beers on stage with the people and cheersing people and in the crowd and I mean, hell, just you just never know, whose day you're gonna make, by just rocking out and helping them cut loose and have a good time.
All right. So usually get into it. Some if the crowd's you're feeling the crowd, you know,
Oh,
you get
100%. Yeah. And the hard part is like on Broadway, like you can't force people to have a good time. And I think that was one of the most important lessons I learned early on was you just can't like you can give all the energy in the world, but if they don't want to have a good time, they won't have a good time. You know what I'm saying? That's just how it goes. Um, for me, like I'll read the crowd, and if I can get a couple people up and dancing when we're playing, usually the rest of the night's going to go pretty damn good.
you have any cool stories or just crazy ass stories?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So, most of them come from Broadway. I mean, I've played, bars that didn't have bouncers, and, you know, men would try to beat up on their old lady in front of me and nobody could stop it. And so I've had to jump off stage and grab people up and, walk them out, kind of thing. Which is pretty wild. I actually had to tell my band, my whole band knows that if I jump off stage because something's going down, like, you need to just keep playing. Like, don't stop the music, just keep playing, and I mean, just the other day I was playing down on Broadway and a group of guys were there and they were drunk and they were younger guys and getting out of control and they started picking at this one guy and his girlfriend, and one of them started trying to fight with them, and the bartender, she come around the bar and she said, y'all need to leave. There was three or four of them, and she said, y'all need to leave. And they were like, we're gonna fuck this dude up and blah blah blah. And they kept trying to go around her, and the security was up at the other door, so they didn't see it. And, and the kid kind of pushed her arm away, and so I was like, nope. And so I set my guitar down, I jumped off stage, and I ran over there and I grabbed two of them, one under this arm and one under this arm, and I just walked them out, man. Walked them out of the bar, and that was pretty wild. And so we had that kind of happen. That's happened on a few occasions, but I was playing a writers round one night, and Billy Gibbons was there. ZZ Top, the guitar player from ZZ Top, one of the
Yeah.
brothers or whatever. And I was like, and this is nuts. Like, that's Billy Gibbons sitting here in the crowd, and um, so I've met him. I've met a bunch of different people being down here. One night Mark Chestnut, who wrote Bubba Shot the Jukebox or whatever, he sang it. Um, Dude, he was in the crowd one night. One night, Jason DeRauca from he's Journey's keyboard player. He was there. He showed up at our show and jumped up on stage and sang Tennessee Whiskey with us. So it's a whole thing, man. We ran into the TV show Breaking Bad.
Mhm.
So Walter White Jr., the kid on that
Yeah, yeah.
show. Yeah,
Hmm.
so he was down here for like 3 weeks, and me and my buddy he plays bass for me sometimes, name's Nicky, and Nicky was like, he looked at him and I looked at him, and we were at a stoplight, and I was standing behind him, me and Nicky were, and I said, Nicky, and I go, do you know who that is? And he was like, is that? And I was like, I swear, bro, I think that's him. I said, I think that's Walter White Jr. And he was like, he goes, no way. And so I said, hey, brother, I said, excuse me, I gotta ask. And he turned around and he goes, y'all like meth too, huh? I was like, what? I was like, oh my God, you're crazy, bro. But yeah, we ran into him like three different times, man. Just down there hanging out at the bars, listening to music and having a couple beers and just having a good time. Yeah, man. So those are some. I've got some wilder ones, but I don't know if you could put them on the pod or not, man. But there's definitely some pretty
Yeah.
wild ones down here. The ladies
Right
come
on.
to party when they come to Broadway, man. That's for sure. So,
You got like stuff coming out soon? You got anything in the pipe?
oh yeah, yeah. I got a bunch, man. I got a bunch. I've got a brand new one that's finishing up right now. It's called Savannah to California. Been working on it for a few months, and it's going to be. It kind of walks the line between, you know, like our base is really southern rock, but it walks that line between funk and country music. So it's like it's got elements of both in it, which is kind of what blends it into that southern rock genre. But really excited about that one. And then yeah, I'm gonna be doing some acoustic stuff too. The plan is for every time I put out a brand new single, that I'm gonna be pushing for a while in between singles to put out like a 4 or 5 song acoustic EP. So just songs that I may never want to do as a full band that are just more acoustic stuff. Um, so yeah, that's kind of the plan anyway.
Cool. Sounds like, man, you got a lot in your under your belt then, and a lot to come out,
It's a lot.
and a lot more work to do, huh?
The music, you know what though, man? Like there's so many hardworking artists out here. Like, we can talk about it being like a lot of work, and it is. It really is. It's exhausting. It's a lot. But man, like I've worked on hog farms, dude. I've worked on cattle ranches. I've done construction. I mean, I've done some of the hardest jobs that you could think in your life. Crawled under houses with, snakes and scorpions and spiders. And, uh, when I was doing construction work, man, like we've been under houses that were absolutely should have just been bulldozed, fixing them for people who had very little money because their house was collapsing on them, and they needed somebody to fix it, and we knew how, so we did it. But when I think of hard work, that's what I think of, man. I mean, this is draining and it's exhausting mentally and emotionally because you're just like, okay, dude, like I'm putting all my money into this and I could be buying rental properties, I could be investing in this and that. But in music, you're investing in yourself and you're believing in yourself and hoping that someday that the money you put in is going to give you an ROI that's worth it. You know what I mean? It's going to really pay off that eventually, you know, from a monetary aspect, it always pays off when you write a cool song and people connect with that song. That's the real ROI. But from a financial aspect, you know, the hope is that one day, you know, you build enough connections and a big enough fan base that you're able to just, you know, enjoy it and you know, make good money doing it. So
Man, you've been great, dude. I've appreciated everything. Do you have any, like, you want to do any shout outs, let people know how to find you, what you got coming up, anything like
yeah,
that?
yeah, for sure. Everything with me is Jason McPhail Music. So if you go to my website, that's the easiest way. The website is just www.jasonmcphailmusic.com, and it has links to all my socials. It has, you can literally click on the song that you want to hear right there, and it'll take you right to my Spotify. So everything is hyperlinked to everything. But yeah, definitely want to give a shout out to my sponsors. You know, really appreciate them because without them, man, it becomes a different story, man. Like recording your own original music becomes a lot tougher. And so really appreciate all those guys. And yeah, man, just all the music fans that come to Nashville to hear us, to hear live music, support live music, and you know, just appreciate everybody doing that. All right, I appreciate you,
Taking the
man.
time. Yeah,
All
thanks.
right, see you, brother.
Bye.